Hello, all sentient beings, and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk all news, comics, and media related to the Merry Christmas. This week on Alt Mode, we have confirmation of some recent IDW rumors. Livio Ramondelli is making a sequel to Killlock, and we review Transformers number 37. Today is Friday, December 24th, 2021, and this is episode 265 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that Santa listens to on his sleigh ride delivery route. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
The amazing and awesome producer and editor, Mike.
Santa's got some great signal if he's listening to us at the North Pole.
He downloads it and then listens to it offline.
Oh, locally. All right.
Have you heard of a podcast? You understand how it works?
I didn't know Santa was tech savvy, you know?
He has an elf to do it.
The IT elf.
Then they copy it over to an Edison cylinder.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian beast.
Hey, everybody. Happy holidays. And bah humbug. Let's talk Transformers.
Hot takes from
You'll be
Daryl.
visited by three spirits.
I should hope so.
All right, on this festive Christmas Eve, we always start off the show by thanking our Donatreons. Those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal and give us a Christmas present every year, all year round. We've got two new folks who joined up on the Donatreons this week. So thank you to Andrew and Arch Deluxe. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for supporting us, and we hope you enjoy all the perks you get. So if you are not on the Transmissions Donatreon train and you want to find out all about it, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support. That's where you can sign up. One of the perks of being a Transmissions Donatreon is that you get access to the early bonus uncut versions of Empire of Rust, our Transformers live play RPG podcast. So this week, or coming next week, I should say, early next week, episode 66, Execute Order 66. That sounds ominous. So that is the next episode of Empire of Rust. But this is the early bonus version. So if you are not a Transmissions Donatreon, you will not get access to this episode for another week or so. So after the new year. But all of our Donatreons get this early bonus cut right now with lots of outtakes and stuff left in that doesn't make it into the main episode. So you can all check that out. All our Donatreons can check that out this Monday, December 27th. So enjoy. Mike, anything to tease about this episode? That Execute Order 66 sounds like, I mean, if I'm going by Star Wars, that sounds like a purge is coming.
I will say that very rarely does the episode title flow as easily as it did with this episode. Just kind of fell right
into
place.
This is where the cast gets wiped out and you have a whole new cast coming in.
99% of the cast, not all of them. Don't worry.
I didn't think you would kill yourself.
Well, obviously. Who's the emperor in this situation? That's right, me.
All right, everyone check that out. While we jump into some comics news. Okay, first up in comics news, this is Transformers adjacent, but a friend of the show and awesome Transformers artist, Livio Ramondelli. He last year did an awesome creator-owned comic called The Kill Lock, which was focused on 4 sentient robots who were bound together by fate and a cruel sentence, a criminal sentence. And that was a really cool little miniseries. It was a 6-issue miniseries, and it was, widely praised as an awesome story and art. And he's getting to do a sequel. So Livio's got a sequel coming out early next year in March 2022. And this is called The Artisan Wraith. So Livio announced it on his Twitter. You can check it out there. And I think comic shops are taking pre-orders now. So, put it on your pull list. Get ready this March, the next installment of the Kill Lock. So yeah, at TFCon Baltimore, I got all my Kill Lock issues signed by Livio. So that's, it was a very cool story. And you can definitely see his all his skill as a Transformers artist. So, drawing robots for a long time came to play with the Kill Lock, but this was a very unique story, very interesting. So check it out if you can. Coming up with the next issue of Transformers Wreckers, Tread and Circuits, we've got Sarah Peter Durocher's incentive cover artwork, so you can take a look at that. And looks like we've got the focus on Octopunch here, and yeah, I'm curious. It seems like we're going to get more delving deeper into Mayhem and what they're doing and what their whole deal is. So, looking forward to that. And of course, the big news. This was last week, and we had the rumors already, and we talked about it, but we did get the final confirmation as of last Friday, December 17th. John Barber has left his position at IDW Publishing. So he announced that on Twitter officially last week, and a lot of outpouring of support for him and well-wishing, lots of awesome artists and writers who had worked with him in the past. I mean, who's who of all the people who contributed Transformers on there. And he sounded like he was moving on to new things and excited for new stuff he's going to work on. We still don't know if that means if Transformers moves, will he pop up again in the orbit of the Transformers license? I mean, we had the rumors last week that this could potentially be moving to Skybound Entertainment in another year or so. And yeah, I mean, anything's possible, but I'm curious to see what's next for John Barber. And yeah, I mean, but if the future does hold anything Transformers related for him, I think that would be cool, but we'll have to wait and see. But all the best to John Barber. He was really his time as both an editor and writer on Transformers comics was I think is widely considered a high point for not just for IDW's run of Transformers, but Transformers comics in general. And so he and James Roberts ushered in a really cool era of Transformers storytelling in comics. So wish him all the best.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes and what happens. But he's always been great to us whenever we've had to interact with him. So I'm hoping that he does get some rest and wherever he's going, he seems like he's energized and ready to hit the ground running.
Yep, definitely. And of course, this little rest period means he could potentially pop up at some TFCon since he's not a company man anymore. He could, that 1 year he took off between when he was, no longer editor at IDW and doing freelance work. He popped up at the TFCon and we got to hang out with him. So, maybe TFCon 2022, he'll show up there. So.
If he's not officially associated with Transformers, coming up, I would guarantee he's probably going to be at TFCon LA. It would just make too much sense.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, so hopefully, crossing our fingers for a guest announcement. All right, well, that's all our comics news. So let's move on to our comic review.
Right. We are looking at Transformers number 37. This is written by Brian Ruckley. Art by Winston Chan, pages 1 and 2, 4 and 11 through 20. And Guido Guidi, pages 3 and 7 through 10. Colors by John Paul Bove. Letters and design by Jake M. Wood. Editor is David Marriott. Assistant editor is Riley Farmer. Supervising editor is Tom Waltz. So there are 3 covers. I forgot to get the names down. Give me 1 second. All right. The 3 covers are... Cover A shows Gridlock, or I guess the corpse of Gridlock with some flowers on it. I'm guessing those are kind of reminiscent of the Energon flowers from Lost Light. But this is by Aline Hertzpalter Baumgartner. Cover B shows Optimus Prime. He's kind of fighting his way or working his way through the Badlands with, we see a Rumble transformed underground. This is by Sebastian Paris. And the retailer incentive is a more classic Optimus Prime, damaged in battle. And this is by Freddie E. Williams II and Jeremy Caldwell. So Mike, let's start with you. Which one of these 3 is your favorite this week?
Ooh, that is a tough choice. I think I'm going to have to give it to the RI just for all the detail and all of the surface detail on this image, because it's a little bit texture heavy, I'll admit. But the amount of actual detail work on here is pretty amazing, and the lighting is really nice. It's a nice dynamic pose. I wish there was a little bit more of a connection on the ground, where the shadows came off his foot. But other than that, though, I mean, it's just for the sheer amount of detail, because I know how rough doing all of that would be. So yeah, I'll go with the RI.
Cool. Daryl.
For this one, I went with cover A. I liked the kind of the simplistic look of it. I mean, the RI is nice, but I think I'm more of a, I don't know. It's almost too much detail on this one for me. The cover B, I just don't like that Prime design. I can't like it. It's they need to get him out of that body. I don't like it. So cover A, I like the simplistic design. I like the color use, the pastels and such. So it looks nice. So yeah, I went with that one. And I mean, you just pointed it out. I didn't even realize it until you just said it, that this is a dead body.
Yeah. So I mean, good use of the lack of color in the body. All right, Charles.
I think I'm going to go with the retailer incentive cover as well. I I know it's my one pet peeve is that it doesn't really relate to anything going on in the issue, especially since Prime is in his kind of more G1-esque body than the current body he has in the comic. But I just like this image. As Mike said, the detail is very cool, and I like the kind of action dynamic pose. Very beat up. Looks like Prime has had a huge battle here, and it's just a really cool image.
Yeah. It's been a tough day at the office. All right. Well, I think I'm going to put my vote in for cover B. I just I am also not a fan of that design of Optimus Prime, but I really liked just kind of the color use and the style of this image, and having, the tape underground. That was a subtle thing that I didn't notice at first, but I think they all were good this week in their own right. So yeah, it's, nice to see a few artists that we haven't seen a lot, getting more shots here. All right, let's get into the story here. Starts out in the Badlands near the Valley of the Emergent Cybertronians, and we see Rumble digging out of the ground, and he calls Shockwave. He was about to be sick of this job, just waiting. But it turns out that Starscream's plan had worked. Rumble reports that Optimus Prime has arrived and gone inside, and he has eyes on Ironhide and the other members of Prime's guard. Inside the cave that Ironhide is guarding, Prime and Ultra Magnus go deeper until they find Optimus's former mentor, Codexa. Ultra Magnus is surprised that they can still talk to Codexa, but Optimus says that it might not really be her at all. Maybe just a combination of all the sparks that have gone emergent. No one really knows. But when Codexa does speak, she recognizes the Matrix inside Optimus. And she says that the Matrix is reimagining him, but asks maybe it's doing it too slowly. In the past, during the War of the Threefold Spark, Cyclonus and his team are battling through the war. As time goes on, the number of his squad decreases one by one. In one scene, we see Gridlock promising that they'll find a way to get Paragon back, but just as he says it, a sniper blasts Gridlock in the head. In the present, Optimus tells Codexa what's been happening with the Rustworms and the Return of Exarchon. Codexa recalls Exarchon and remembers when they learned about what he had turned into. Next, we see in the past, the final battle is underway, and Highbrow is presenting a report on Exarchon to Nominus Prime. He reveals that although he looks Cybertronian, he now has a transformed spark, and it can spread to other bodies like a virus. It seems deliberate, but they don't know what exactly has happened. However, it does seem that his control can only have a limit of 3 bodies at one time. Nominus doesn't think that this last bit is very positive news, as the cost of this war has been too high already. In the last battle itself, Provoke and Cyclonus are the last 2 members of their squad. Provoke is urging Cyclonus to join the battle a final time, but as soon as they get involved, she's blasted and killed. Cyclonus doesn't have time to react, as another nearby explosion sends him flying away. He is damaged, but rises to his feet when Shadow Striker and Brawn have to drag him away from the battle. Completely exhausted, Cyclonus begins to see the ghosts of his former squad, urging him to continue the fight. In the present, Codexa is mourning the sparks that had returned due to Exarchon, and now the Civil War, which is sending more, and the planet is aching. Optimus asks if sparks are returning again. Is Exarchon doing it right now? And as she is fading back, she manages to let him know a name, Ruckus. Meanwhile, in Swindle's bar, Cyclonus barges in and goes past the bouncer to speak with Ruckus and ask about Provoke. Ruckus evades the questions and tries to convince him that everything is fine before Swindle drags Cyclonus back out. Cyclonus is not sure that everything is actually fine, as everyone is saying. As Optimus and Megatron leave the chamber, Magnus is unable to reach Ironhide outside. Then he notices that the doors are closed when they left them open. Magnus transforms and drives through the doors, coming out to see the Decepticons, led by Sound Blaster, holding the guard prisoner. Magnus starts fighting the Decepticons as the other Autobots also begin to fight back. However, Magnus is slowed down by Astrotrain. Slipstream and Flamewar try to harpoon Optimus, but he's not so easily defeated, and he swings a harpoon gun around from the cable. Magnus calls for the others to get to safety, and he distracts the Decepticons long enough for them to get away. There's too many, though, and Magnus is eventually rendered unconscious and captured. Slipstream contacts Shockwave to let him know that they were unable to capture Prime, but they did get the Great General and are ordered to take him to Megatron and Icon. Shockwave has no interest in someone that doesn't contain the Matrix. While they do this, Sound Blaster and Rumble are to go inside and seal Codex's chamber. Next, the rescue. So this issue, I thought we are kind of setting up again on this new arc with the Exarchon stuff. I thought it was pretty good, but very wordy, very, very dense in what it was trying to get across. But I like the going back and forth between the past and the present. And I thought having Guido do those past pages was a really good choice. Although the art flowed really well between Winston and Guido. I really thought the art was good this issue. The colors from JP are fantastic as always. But the story, I thought I like the concepts. I like the ideas here, but it's so slow. This whole thing is so slow. The battle at the back or at the end of the issue, I thought was brief, but a lot of good things. I like seeing Optimus kind of, his hand gets harpooned and he grabs the cable and just swings the gun around, knocking out people with the gun on the other end of the cable. I thought that was a nice bit of action. We see like bits and pieces from the others, really strong Ultra Magnus stuff. So I enjoyed the book. I think next issue hopefully is going to have more action, being called The Rescue. But I'm hoping they do get Magnus back and we don't get what we saw on the Netflix show with, just like Ultra Magnus's head on the table. But anyway, yeah, this was pretty good. I enjoyed it, and I know the next issue has already come out. I haven't read it yet, so we'll see where it goes from here. Mike, what are your thoughts on the story?
So I found it a little bit jarring to go from the past to the present. I'm kind of realizing that the rounded panels are the history and the square ones are the modern times. But yeah, just the transition back and forth was, like I said, just a little bit jarring. The artwork change did help, but still, it was. I think that their art styles flow together so well that it flows together almost a little bit too well. Where I think I would prefer something where on the lines of I don't know,
like what they did with Livio in the past series.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. Because that would make it a very, very distinct and very obvious kind of like, hey, here's the chapter breaks. But I mean, it's not horrible. I can certainly get through that with no problems. But I will echo a lot of what you have to say there, Jeremy. It does feel like more like a setup. I will say that I know I've said this before, but I love seeing all of the little smaller sub characters hanging around. I forget his name, but the little blue race car Micromaster that Magnus runs into, that was great. I think they're in that same shot. I think Backstreet is there, like one of the trigger bots. There's a Groove, of course, one of the monster bots, Grotesque, maybe. There's a little Micromaster Tracer, I think, the helicopter in the back there. So those are always fun. Yeah, that's cool.
I do like how they are making use of all these kind of minor characters in the fiction, and you're seeing them in the background doing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that More Than MCI did a lot of as well. I mean, I don't think it did it to this extent, but still, I mean, we did see background characters, but I mean, this modern series really does feel like it's grabbing from all over the place, and like you have no idea who's going to show up in an issue because it could be anyone. Pacing on this issue was rough for me, and a couple months back, I did a read through of the entire series up to wherever it was. It was the Skywarp issue, like the first time Skywarp appeared, and reading through the entire thing, like from beginning to that point, was actually really rewarding because it harkens back to what I think it was you who had said that that it's written as a novel. It's written as a very long form story, whereas the individual issues don't really stand alone very well. But taken as a whole, they actually stand together very, very nicely. And just reading through the whole thing, it really did. You got that feel, that tense buildup, kind of, what's going to happen next? What's the evolution of this movement? And it was really, really rewarding. But yeah, the individual issues do suffer because they just don't have it's a tiny little piece that really needs the rest of it in order to make a lot of sense. It really needs the rest of it to be a complete work of fiction. And I mean, this issue does suffer with that. It feels like it is like it feels like the middle half hour of a movie.
Right.
So
you're getting a lot of the kind of explanations for stuff.
Right. Artwork, though, I will say is good. I have no problems with any with any of it. With Winston's or Guido's artwork, it all looks very, very nice. I will say maybe some of the backgrounds in the modern stuff could use a bit more. Like I'm looking at some panels that are just like gradients of color. It's like, oh, okay, but maybe a bit more. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Cool. Daryl, what are your thoughts on the book?
I agree with you that it was a bit kind of drawn out and wordy. There were portions of dialogue that I was kind of questioning whether it needed to even be in the book, but for all intents and purposes, it was kind of I don't know. The story was. It seems like it's kind of. It's telling a lot of information and it's trying to get a lot of this information over. And there's an awful lot of information to try and to pass along to us, the reader. And frankly, I think a comic book is not enough space to do it. So they're doing the best they can to try and convey that. I liked a little bit of the action. I thought the action was, it could have been better. And I'm hoping that you're right, that the next issue will be a little bit more action heavy. But I mean, this series has been pretty light on action for the most part. So I'm not really holding my breath. I was hoping that, when Prime kind of tore the wire out of his hand, that he was just going to start raising hell. But that really, wasn't the point of him being there. It was, they were outnumbered and they needed to get out of there. The story is slow. And I mean, we've talked about it before. I've just come to accept that this story is slow. I'm happy with the art. I thought the art was great. I was really happy to see Guido on a book, again. Yeah. I really enjoy his art. And his past panels were really well rendered, and to be able to get a lot of information about how Cyclonus got these ghosts, was really answered a lot of questions from a long time ago. So I was really, I was happy to get that. It seems like he started seeing these ghosts pretty immediately. So that's kind of odd. So, I mean, is he nuts? Something, I don't know. I guess we may never know, but he is obviously seeing these ghosts, which is kind of odd. But I mean, in the future, we know as the audience, we know that Provoke is alive, right?
Well, Provoke is possessed by Exarchon.
True, I guess. Yeah.
So not really alive.
Not really alive, but the body's there.
Cyclonus doesn't know that.
Yeah. All right, I guess so. Anyway, it's, I found it, that was probably the only part of that whole interaction that I found kind of odd, is that, he, essentially after Provoke died, immediately after she died, he saw her ghost, which I thought was kind of odd, but whatever. Either way, I did really like getting the kind of an answer. We did get some images of some of these characters I don't think we've ever seen before. So, we did get, and I mean, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory on this stuff is really shit, but, I'm trying to see the name of him. Highbrow talks to him. Is the Nominus Prime. Yeah. I don't think we've seen him before. So, so that was cool to get a design on him.
Yeah, I think he's been mentioned, but I don't know if we've ever seen him.
Yeah, and then the holo, the presentation that he gives, that is of Exarchon, right? That's the picture of Exarchon.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we've seen a picture of Exarchon before either. So, so we're actually getting some images and some pictures to put to these, to these names, which is kind of nice. Obviously, Exarchon doesn't look like that anymore. So, but it is nice to see what they originally started out as. All in all, it's, it was a fine book. It is definitely wordy, and it'll take you some time to get through, but, yeah, there's a lot going on here that they're trying to convey.
All right. Charles, what are your thoughts?
All right. Well, I actually, thought this was a pretty good balanced issue. Yeah, I mean, the exposition and the backstory I thought was interesting. We finally get a little bit more detail on Exarchon and the threefold spark and what that actually means. So I appreciated that. But we also get some good action scenes with Cyclonus and his flashbacks. And then at the end, when we have the showdown between Ultra Magnus and the Autobots and the Decepticons who ambush them. So I thought those two little action sequences, in addition to the lore and backstory we got, kind of helped us, help this issue, just made this issue interesting for me. I still like the whole Exarchon thing. I guess we're getting that mini series coming next year to really get into this, because he's this returning threat. But I think this backstory has been dragged out a little bit too long at this point. I think he's been hinted at for so long, but we really don't understand what the details are. And it seems like that the end of that war, the issues of that war, kind of led to the issues of the current civil war. So I feel like it was a long time to wait for these details, but I did like, also the art from Guido Guidi and Winston Chan was great. Seeing both of these guys do the artwork here, I really liked, particularly Guido Guidi's G1-esque art for all these characters. I thought was really nice. Like almost, and cells of animation on the page here, really nice. And Winston, of course, longtime friend of the podcast. Winston getting another chance to do interiors. I think his art is great, and he's he gets a chance to put his take on the current longtime series. I don't think he's got a chance to do that before with this series, since he was working on Beast Wars. So I thought this was a pretty good issue.
Cool. I do also want to call out the lettering by Jake M. Wood. I thought the sound effects in this issue were another really cool use of sound effects, particularly where Magnus is, bursting through the doors, and you see like brash, but it looks like rocks. I always like it when the letters are played with like that. Still, the transforming sound effects, not the right word. You're Vort, Rit, or Vort, Rurt, Irk. That just does not sound like transforming. It needs to be the sounds, but whatever. Anyway, I think compared to what we saw early on in this series to what we're seeing now, I think the sound effects are much more dynamic looking, and I think are really helping, portray the action and what it's trying to do. I think that is it for the comic review this week.
Okay, and that takes us to the end of this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Mike, thanks again for joining us this week, and why don't you tell everyone where they can find your stuff online?
Yeah, sure. Well, of course, stay tuned right to this feed for Empire of Rust, the first and only Transformers RPG podcast. And if you are interested in some toy photography or looking at some awesome 3D artwork, you can go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram. That's at Minervion, Minervion.
All right, and we're coming to the end of Transmissions Alt Mode. We always give a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatrons. So thank you again to John 4X Levengood, Dinobot Maximize, Demon Tech 82, and Septimus Solvane. Thank you for continuing to support us at our highest level. We really appreciate it. And also, I know it's Christmas Eve, but if you want to buy some merchandise from our TeePublic store, you still can. It's transmissionspodcast.com/shop. Think about some stuff for next year. Anybody got a January birthday? Think of them. Think of getting a Transmission shirt or any TeePublic shirt. Just use our link. And that'll do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye all.
Humbug. Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.